What's up, and welcome back to So You Think You Know Ball, where we answer the major questions ahead of the return of Premier League action.
All aboard the game train.
This is So You Think You Know Ball, brought to you by the Game Train Network. I'm Rona Gain. On today's agenda, we have Arsenal's next two key fixtures that could decide their season. Should John Dhuran get the start over Ollie Watkins? And is the Southampton game a must-win for Manchester United? Will the next two fixtures decide Arsenal's title hopes? I think they will. They face Tottenham away in the North London Derby this Sunday, and then next week they face Manchester City away. City are already 2 points clear of Arsenal at this moment, and if Arsenal were to lose their next two games, they would be 8 points behind City, and you could make a pretty strong argument that that puts them out of the title race, even this early in the season. Breaking down each game, so Tottenham this weekend. They're going to be without Declan Rice. They're going to be without Martin Odegaard. Rice is suspended just for one game. Odegaard picked up an injury while playing with Norway, and he is likely going to miss both games. Definitely missing the Spurs game, but almost definitely also missing the Manchester City game, likely to be out for 3 weeks, if not more. We're going to have to see a new look midfield for Arsenal. How is that going to affect their team? Because not only are we likely going to see a new look midfield, that also probably means that Havertz plays a deeper role, and they have to either go with Martinelli or potentially showing new signing Raheem Sterling straight into the fire as the central striker for the team, which also upsets the balance of their squad, of their forward line overall. So I would still think that they can pull out the win against Spurs because they are still going to be resolute defensively. They are still going to have a potent attacking threat with Saka, with Martinelli, with Trossard. Just the question of how does it affect them in terms of control of the midfield? How does it affect them in terms of creativity, in terms of transition play? Rice and Odegaard are the two of the most important players to this Arsenal system. So, especially in the Spurs game, it's going to be really interesting to see. The saving grace is that Spurs, obviously they still play their risky style. They've known to be not very clinical early in this season. Is Solanke fit? We still don't know. So Arsenal, I would still make them favourites for the North London Derby, but I look forward to seeing how they set up and how much control they're still able to have without Rice and Odegaard in the midfield. Because if they lose that, one benefit against Spurs is Spurs' midfield is not overly dominant. They have been known they're usually the weaker when they go into these big games in terms of just midfield players. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. But Spurs, when they're hot, they can get at any team. They can score a lot of goals and they will create chances. So I still make Arsenal favourites in that game, but I think Spurs could turn the tables on them, especially without Rice and Odegaard. And then the big one, Manchester City. No Odegaard for that game. They will have Rice back, which will make a big difference. Last season, Arsenal went to the Etihad and played for the draw. They went there and said, we are not going to lose this game. And it ultimately came back to bite them because they went on to lose after that game, which they drew. They went on to lose Aston Villa. And that ultimately was a big part of why they didn't win the league. Arsenal are okay to play that way again if they beat Spurs. But I wanted to see Arsenal go and try and beat Manchester City. The only way they can control what happens to them is if they win all the games that they can. They have to go to the Etihad with the objective of winning. They didn't do that last year. Came back to bite them. This will show the mettle of this Arsenal squad. This will show the mettle of Mikel Arteta. If they go and try to win, I won't criticize them if Arsenal try to win and end up losing the game. I'm not going to criticize them on that because City are an excellent team. But you have to be ambitious to win this league title. You have to be aggressive playing against Manchester City. they are good enough to match Manchester City. They are very good defensively, so they won't be under too much pressure if they try to attack. No Odegaard will be an issue for them, but I think Rice coming back in will make such a big difference. He'll play a more defensive role. He will cover that back line. He'll be able to start attacks from that deeper lying midfield position. And that makes such a big difference to this Arsenal team. I know it's so early in the season and it's so tough to say that a team is out of the title race when they're as good a team as Arsenal are, and they will only be 8 points adrift with over 30 games still to play. But Manchester City aren't going to drop that many points. They're not going to be able to make up that difference. I firmly believe that. So I think the next two games absolutely will decide whether or not Arsenal are title contenders this season or not. But I think they can come out with at least 4 points from these games, if not more. They're definitely still capable of beating Spurs, even without Odegaard and Rice, especially if Spurs show up and play like they did against Newcastle and against Leicester. But the pressure's on Arsenal. This is a real sign. We're going to get a real test to see the character of Arsenal. We already got that in week 2 against Aston Villa. Now we're really going to see it in these next two fixtures. Two tough away fixtures, North London Derby and Manchester City. Are Arsenal legit? We will find out in the next 2 weeks, and I cannot wait to watch how this turns out, because this is a real test of whether Arteta is the guy and whether this Arsenal team is good enough to beat Manchester City for the league title. Ollie Watkins has struggled to start the season. Hasn't scored yet. He's looked sluggish. He's missed some big chances in the 3 starts that he's had this season. John Dhuran, on the other hand, has started like a house on fire. Scored in 2 of the 3 games, winning goals against West Ham and Leicester. And he just looks sharper, fitter than Ollie Watkins at this stage. The problem is they're going up against Everton, who have been leaking goals for fun so far this season. On the one hand, perfect game for Ollie Watkins to rediscover his form, to rediscover his scoring touch. On the other hand, he hasn't really been up to it. Does he deserve to start? John Dhuran definitely does deserve to start. I don't think there's a way they can fit them both in the team with the way the team sets up. So, as much as Ollie Watkins, I know he is that number 1 guy, and I will not be surprised if he starts the game. I would like to see him get a rest, because he had a long summer. He played a lot of games last season. Sometimes he just needs that extra bit of time, and maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing for him to start on the bench against Everton, come on against a tired backline for the last 20 minutes. Maybe that's a better chance for him to get a goal and rediscover his form. John Dhuran is a very, very talented player. He has been their best player, arguably, outside of Onana, probably to start this season. He deserves a start. And Everton is a game where you can take the chance. You can take the chance on starting John Dhuran. It's a big question mark because Ollie Watkins is so pivotal and he is clear number 1 favourite. But sometimes you need that extra bit of time after a tough summer, after a long summer and a long last season. He needs that little bit of extra rest that he hasn't been able to get. So I think Aston Villa should start John Dhuran against Everton. Just mix it up a little bit, see how that goes. Not saying it's going to be a permanent switch or anything like that, but I think John Dhuran deserves this chance to start after his early season form. And more importantly, I think Ollie Watkins could just use the rest. Maybe just grab a little bit of bench time, get the motor going again, and then he'll be ready to kick on maybe in a couple of weeks down the line. That's just my opinion. I think I won't be surprised if Ollie Watkins starts. I wouldn't be surprised if he scores a couple of goals against Everton. But I would like to see John Dhuran get the start. Finally, Manchester United travel to Southampton, the early kickoff on Saturday. Is this a must-win game for Manchester United? And the answer is yes. It absolutely is. 2 straight losses, embarrassed at home by Liverpool last game before the international break. There's pressure on Eric Ten Hag to show signs of change, to show that this team is truly growing. Southampton are a newly promoted team who have come up from the championship that still look every bit like a championship team. They've lost all 3 of their opening games. They have a -4 goal difference already. They've looked really, really bad. Manchester United absolutely have to go and win this game. I've been a defender of Eric Ten Hag. I've done whatever I can to try and keep the pressure off him, and I want to believe that he is doing the right things at Manchester United to turn the team into a winner. But they have to go and beat Southampton. This is time for a statement. Yeah, I'm not going to say Eric Ten Hag will be sacked if Manchester United lose this game or don't win this game, but I'll be sick of defending him. I don't want to hear this crap about winning the 2 trophies. Yeah, he did that, and it was great, and that earned him the right to manage the 3rd season. But the 3rd season is moving season. We have to start seeing signs, real signs, that the team is going in the right direction. He needs to have Ugarte straight in. I think he needs to start Garnacho and Ahmad as the 2 wingers. Garnacho on the left, Ahmad on the right. Rashford, put him on the bench. Start the best team you can. I don't care if you say they're not fit or whatever excuse you want to come up with. You bought these players, put them in. You have to take them off after an hour, 70 minutes. Fine, but start them in this game. He needs to do what he can to start the best team he possibly can. I don't think Shaw is still not going to be fit, which is a shame, but he has to play at full strength. He went out. Ugarte's been their guy. He's apparently going to be the difference maker. He's played for Uruguay. Put him in the starting lineup. Let's see what he's got. They're playing against Southampton. It's not like it's a big, huge game like against a Liverpool or a Manchester City or something like that. They're playing against Southampton. They can take the chance. So put him in there. This is a pressure game for Manchester United and Eric Ten Hag. They need to win. Simple as that. No ifs, no buts. Doesn't matter. I've been an excuse merchant for Eric Ten Hag over the last 12 months. I do believe they showed signs of growth in the opening 2 games, but not winning against a team like Southampton is inexcusable, and I won't be able to defend them anymore if they lose that game, or to be honest, even if they just don't win and we have to hear again, oh, I'm seeing this and I'm seeing that. No. Doesn't matter what you're seeing. It's time for everyone else to see it, Eric. That's the way it has to go. But hey, let's not get too down. Premier League football is back. The horrors of the international break are gone. We are back to what we want, which is Premier League football. Returns this weekend. Games to watch. Manchester United away to Southampton. Arsenal away to Tottenham. Fantasy games to watch. Liverpool home to Nottingham Forest. City home to Brentford. Who gets the captain's armband in your team? Is it Haaland or is it Salah? I'm still going Haaland. Let me know your picks in the comments. But that's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all so much for watching, and make sure you subscribe for much more so you think you know ball.